Hello, Nathan. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Student Senate for tonight. I'm so excited to have you all. Also, everyone who guessed the music in the chat, yes, you're correct. Billy, I love the comment that you have to add. That's so funny. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of Student Senate to order. We will forego the Pledge of Allegiance right now, seeing as how we're on Zoom. But I do want to begin our meeting tonight, taking place on Thursday, November 5th, with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is the home of 4 federally recognized Native nations, the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was, and still is, stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. So with that, I'm now going to turn it over to Maggie to do our first roll call for tonight.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Atchison.
Here.
Bain.
Here.
Booz.
Here.
Brown. Bruce. Brummett.
Here.
Bruna. Burke. Carr. Clements. Colburn.
Here.
Here. Crosslow. Oh, sorry. Who was
Here.
that second here from? Perfect. Okay, I have Clements, Colburn, and Crosslow. De Santiago. Diaz de Leon.
Here.
Delavu.
Here.
Doc.
Here.
Frederick.
Here.
Lardo. Garrett. Here. Glasscock.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Gromez.
Here.
Hamlin. Harmon.
Here.
Hurd.
Here.
Heimerman.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Hutchings.
Here.
Jambunathan.
Here.
Loya.
Here.
Manners.
Here.
McKee.
Here.
McVeigh. Mukukumar. Knoll.
Here.
Nunnink. Phillips.
Here.
Panikatu.
Here.
Porter. Purdy.
Here.
Richenberg.
Here.
Rodriguez. Thank you. Rossi. Shunjay. Thank you. Snyder Ben. Snyder Blaine.
Here.
Vance.
Here.
Vogelmore.
Vogelmore's here.
Thank you. Wallace.
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Wilcox. Willis. And Windholtz.
Here.
Okay, I am going to go back and fix a few really fast, and I'll get back to you with who all is here. Thank you. Sorry, guys, just a sec here. Okay. With that, we have 42 senators present and 5 excused.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie, for getting that done for us. With that, we'll now move into our first open period. We had nobody scheduled on the agenda for first open period, but I do just want to double check. Are there any speakers for first open period tonight? Seeing none, we'll now move on with our agenda. So we'll now move into approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed yesterday via email. Is there a motion to approve the minutes that were distributed yesterday? Moved by Caucus Leader Phillips. Seconded by Senator Kidd. Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Seeing none, we will just move on with our agenda for tonight. So next on our agenda is announcements. So announcements for this week. This first one, you've all seen it because it's been on the agenda for about the past month now, but we are still looking for members of the elections committee. And I'm gonna harp on this a little bit right now. I currently have 3 applications that have been submitted. This committee requires 5 people to function in the spring. So with that, I would really like at this time to encourage anyone who is available to be on this committee to apply for the elections committee in the spring semester. For a bit of an overview, this committee really handles everything elections related. They report up to the elections commissioner, and it's really their job to ensure that elections are advertised to students, but as well, they also are the ones who enforce elections regulations and rules and ensure that everything is administered fairly and equitably. This committee is not a huge time commitment. It would only be from basically next week. You really wouldn't do a whole lot over winter break. And then you'd get back and you would have to do things until basically the end of February. And then your obligation would be done for the rest of the semester on the committee. But it's pretty critical to our functions and our mission to ensure that these elections are administered well. And we are still looking for a couple more members. If you're a member of this committee, you cannot run for a position in the election. So you can't be running for student body president, vice president, or for student senate. So if there's anyone in here who doesn't plan on being in student senate next year, or it's their senior year of some, I would highly, 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 I'm begging you right now to please apply for this committee. We just need a couple more people to do it. And again, it's a really critical thing that we need filled. If I don't get any more applications, I'm probably going to start emailing people by name who I know are seniors, who I think have the time and availability to commit to this. So at this time, I would really like to ask everyone on this call right now to really think about your level of involvement next year, and if you can contribute a few hours a week for about 4 or 5 weeks in the spring semester. Because that would be really valued and we would all appreciate that. So I know I'm harping on this announcement a lot, but it is something that we really, really need filled at this time. So if you're available, please, please, please apply to the elections committee. Moving on, there is an additional opportunity though, a lot of opportunities this week on the agenda that I am looking for some representatives to serve on the Attorney General Recommendation Committee. This committee is in charge of picking the Attorney General, so the head of the judicial branch for next year. All you have to do is attend about 1 night of interviews. It is not an incredibly long time commitment. It would basically be Sunday, November 15th between 6 to 9 p.m. You would just have to be available to do Zoom interviews and then deliberate with the rest of the group on the candidates and then vote on which candidate you'd like to be on that committee. The committee is made up of representatives from each branch, and so I'm in charge of appointing 3 members of the legislative branch to that committee. If you like would like to like do that just because you think it's a cool opportunity, if you want to learn more about the judicial branch or have some input there, please email me. I'll probably just do like the first 3 people who email me interest, I will put on that committee. But I am looking for 3 people. And again, if I don't find 3, I'm probably just going to ask 3 before next Monday. So if you like have a passion about that, just shoot me an email right now. My email's on the agenda, and also you get it every week from me. If you would be interested on being on that committee. Vice versa, the application for Attorney General is currently live right now. So if I don't know if a lot of people in the legislative branch particularly have an interest, but I did want to let everyone know that that application is live. So if you have friends in judicial, let them know. I'm certain they know already. But if you're passionate about that at all, that application for a position for next year is available. That position opens early just because you have to shadow the previous attorney general for a few months before you get the job. So we actually picked that one a whole semester early. So please let me know if you'd be interested in that. Another opportunity that I need people for, like I said, lots of opportunities this week, is that in the spring semester, we will have a committee that's known as the Student-Centered Tuition Enhancements Committee. That's run by the treasurer of student government, Alan Hines. This committee is pretty critical because they actually review applications for like new initiatives and projects across campus and like have like a fairly large pool of money, like a few $100,000 that they allocate to those different projects. Previous projects that have been like started through SETE include Cat's Cupboard, K-State 360, PowerCap Financial, the Diversity Programming Committee that we have in SGA got its start there. So they look at like a lot of really cool, really interesting things. And I actually need 6 student senators to serve on that committee. So if you are a student senator, like, and next semester you would be willing to like sit on just like I think it would be like 4 or 5 meetings. You'd be done again by like March or like mid-March. Please let me know because again, like I need a lot of people to like do that opportunity. It's a really cool one. And I know Treasurer Hines is looking to like get started like and hit the ground running pretty early next semester. So please email me. Again, I will probably be like emailing out to people like a few weeks from now if I don't hear back from anyone. So if you'd like to do that, please just let me know. We would love to have you. Next announcement, just so everyone knows, applications for travel and on-campus funding close this coming Friday. So the links are on here. If you are in any student organizations or clubs or know any that are like traveling or like looking for like funding at all for any events that they have, we still have some money, not as much as we do in typical years, but we do have some that would be available for student groups. So they'd be really encouraged to apply by this coming Friday. That also give those committees something to review in the coming weeks. So please just distribute these links if you know someone who'd like them. Proxies for this week are Croslow for Kid, which I don't think is necessary now because Kid was able to make it. Snyder Blaine for Fox, and then Ward for Carlson. I also have 2 others, Atchison for Wells, and then Hurd for Levi are some additional ones. Also, the SGA member of the week this week is intern Nick Saya, who last week like stepped up and served as secretary when I wasn't able to be here, and Maggie had to step up. So if we could give like some claps to intern Saya for like willing to just like jump aboard, particularly when it's a little bit weirder over Zoom, and like props to him for like being willing to just step in and help us all out, do some minutes and stuff. I hope you really enjoyed it, Nick. Lastly, our quote of the week this week is, "Democracy is based upon the conviction that there are extraordinary possibilities in ordinary people." And that's from Harry Emerson Fosdick. So with that, we will now move on with the remainder of our agenda. But again, if you're interested in any of those opportunities that I mentioned, please, please, please like fill out the form or email me. We need some people to do it and we need some strong student representatives, and that's why you're all here. So with that, we'll now move into commendations. We have 3 commendations this week. Can I get a motion to consider Resolution 35? Moved by Chair Booz and then seconded by Senator Heimerman. With that, the author of Resolution 35, you are free to read this. Is there?
I guess.
Yeah, you can go for it, Bryce. That'll work great.
Okay, Resolution 2021-35, Commendation to Dr. Don Boggs by Bryce Atchison, Michael Dowd, Max Harmon, Gerardo Hernandez, Lane Manners, and J.W. Wells. Whereas Dr. Don Boggs served as the Associate Dean for the Academic Programs for the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University since 2005. Whereas Dr. Boggs also oversaw the College of Agriculture activities related to teaching programs. Whereas during his time as Associate Dean, Dr. Boggs administered personal matters and budget transactions related to academic programs and provided leadership and coordination of instructional program functions, including curriculum, teaching, advising, scholarships, fundraising, recruitment, retention, honors programs, leadership development, diversity programming, faculty recognition, and professional development. Whereas Dr. Boggs demonstrated an outstanding commitment to keeping student leaders in the loop by educating senators and students on upcoming events, scholarships, and recruiting students on visits for the College of Agriculture. Whereas Dr. Boggs provided key leadership for the College of Agriculture Ambassador Group by facilitating retreats, leading student visits, encouraging growth and development through Ag Ambassador families, and leading recruitment efforts at the National FFA Convention. Whereas Dr. Boggs oversaw all College of Agriculture activities related to teaching programs of students and was an outstanding teacher to the students of his college. And whereas Dr. Boggs retired June 28, 2020. Be it resolved that Section 1 KSU SGA would like to wish Dr. Don Boggs a happy retirement and the best of luck in his future. KSU SGA thanks Dr. Boggs for his contributions he made towards our university as well as its students. Section 2. Upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Dr. Boggs, College of Agriculture Dean Dr. Ernie Mitten, and University President Richard B. Myers.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, I will now seek a motion approving this resolution. So moved in the chat will work. Moved by Caucus Leader Phillips. If I can get a second. Seconded by Caucus Leader Kidd. Are there any objections to approving Resolution 35? Seeing none, Resolution 35 will stand approved. Usually we do claps, but since we've got 3 of them, let's do claps at the end. So with that, now Resolution 36. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 36? If I can get a so moved in the chat. Moved by Chair Booz. Is there a second? Seconded by Caucus Leader Phillips. With that, will the author of Resolution 36 please come forward?
Hello again, everybody. Resolution 2021-36, Commendation to Jordan Brown by Bryce Atchison, Michael Dowd, Max Harmon, Gerardo Hernandez, Lane Manners, Noah Auctioner, and J.W. Wells. Whereas Jordan Brown has left the Kansas State University College of Agriculture to pursue a career in curricular development at Vivek. All right. Whereas Jordan Brown served in several roles during her time within the College of Agriculture, such as coordinator for recruitment and retention events, representative of the College of Agriculture at recruitment events, and advisor for the College of Agriculture ambassadors. Whereas Jordan's creativity, devotion, and passion for K-State student success has made a positive impact on all students who are or who have been involved in the College of Agriculture. And whereas the College of Agriculture and Kansas State University Student Governing Association recognize and commands her admirable service to the College of Agriculture and its students. Be it resolved that Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends Jordan Brown for her years of service and dedication to the Kansas State University College of Agriculture and its students. Section 2, KSU SGA wishes Jordan the best of luck in her new career at Vivek In section 3, upon a passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Jordan Brown, College of Agriculture Dean Dr. Ernie Mitten, and University President Richard B. Myers.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author on Resolution 36? Seeing none, I'll now seek a motion that we approve Resolution 36. Is there a motion to approve it unanimously? Moved by Senator Hernandez. Is there a second by Senator Manners? With that, are there any objections to approving Resolution 36? Seeing none, Resolution 36 will stand approved. Moving into our last one for the night, College of Ag just cranked them out this past week, will be Resolution 37. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 37? Moved by Senator Manners and seconded by Senator Heimerman. With that, the author of Resolution 37, please come forward.
Hello again. Resolution 2021-37, Commendation to Sandy Klein, by Bryce Atchison, Michael Dowd, Max Harmon, Gerardo Hernandez, Lane Manners, Andrew Knoll, Noah Oxner, Parker Vogelmore, and J.W. Wells. Whereas Sandra Dillon Klein represents herself, her family, and her college alma mater with dignity and class, earning respect and praise from colleagues, current Kansas State University College of Agriculture students, alumni, and friends. Whereas Sandy Klein's last day as Assistant Dean of the College of Agriculture was October 3rd, 2020, after a 15-year-long stay at Kansas State University as an undergraduate, master's student, staff, and leadership for the College of Agriculture. She served in multiple roles within the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University, including Assistant Dean for Agriculture, Academic Programs, Coordinator for the College Events and Projects, and Advisor for the College of Ag Ambassadors Organization. Whereas Sandy Klein devoted countless hours of her time to recruiting the new classes for the College of Agriculture year after year by facilitating prospective student visits, engaging with students at the National FFA Convention and Expo, as well as meeting with students one-on-one. Whereas Sandy Klein has also dedicated almost a decade of service to the Kansas FFA Association by serving on the 2002-2003 Kansas FFA State Officer Team, and later contributing to the leadership development of future state officer teams at the Kansas State FFA Convention. Whereas her incredible dedication and passion for student success and developing leaders within FFA, Ag Ambassadors, the College of Agriculture, and Kansas State University as a whole has made great impacts on many. And whereas the College of Agriculture and Kansas State University Student Governing Association recognizes her admirable service. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends Sandy Klein for her years of service and dedication to the Kansas State University College of Agriculture and its students. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Sandy Klein, College of Agriculture Dean Dr. Ernie Mitten, and University President Richard B. Myers.
Are there any questions or corrections about Resolution 37? Yes, I see that a correction, Senator Dillevue.
On line 7, I think we should take out the word college. I think it's implied with the word alma mater.
Is the author of the resolution, okay, Bryce, are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me write that down before we certify it. Are there any other corrections or questions? Seeing none, is there a motion of approval on this resolution? Moved by Senator Vogelmore seconded by Senator Croslow. Are there any objections to approving Resolution 37? Seeing none, Resolution 37 will stand approved. Can we have like some clapping reactions to the College of Agriculture for cranking out multiple resolutions? They actually have, like, I know there's at least one more that's going to be on the agenda next week. So congratulations, College of Ag. Good job. Just like representing your department and your college. We really appreciate that. With that, we'll now continue on with our agenda. Next up on our agenda for tonight is committee reports. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Natalia, I see your hand raised, so you can go first.
Hi guys, I just wanted to open it up for any senator or SJ member that's interested to be part of the outreach efforts that we're about to get started. If you have any organizations in mind that you would like to reach out personally, we can help you out with that as well. We have a list of different organizations we want to talk to. So if you're at all interested in that, let me know.
Are there any questions for Chair Rodriguez? Seeing none, it looks like, I think, Andrew, do you have a report from Senate Ops?
Yeah, that's a report, not a question.
Yeah,
So.
you can go.
Cool. I just wanted to update you on what Senate Ops is doing since we only have a few student Senate meetings left. So as you might have noticed, we have 2 bills that were submitted this week. So hopefully they'll be passed at next week's student Senate meeting. So please look them over if you have any questions, like let me or Morgan, who wrote one, or let the other members of Senate Ops know. So there's that. We should have one more bill to submit next week, which will be on the campaign action reports and like social media, and just kind of tweaking around the edges of that report for presidential tickets. So if you have thoughts on that, like I've said all semester, email them to me. And yeah, we're still also moving ahead on trying to fill the last vacancies that we have. So we're actually going to have a hearing on Monday, which is going to be pretty cool. So any questions?
Are there any questions for Chair Booz? Seeing none, are there any other committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Colburn.
Hey everyone. Well, get out the vote elections. I'm sure you're all very aware of what's going on, so I don't need to inform you there. But just like an update on our side of things, we won't know for like quite a few weeks / months what overall like voter turnout looked like for college, like 18 to 24-year-old age students in Riley County. So kind of knowing our results of our efforts along with other university partners' efforts, we won't know for a while, but when those numbers come out, I'll be sure to let you know. Though, of course, like a little grain of salt on that, in that it is kind of difficult since a lot of people, I'm sure many, if not most of you, are probably still registered in your home counties. So you're not really tracked here. So just keep in mind that like college age students are not all college students, and we can make, I think it's generally college students probably vote in higher numbers than generally college age students. So the numbers will be a little skewed, but anyway, that's all to come. The only thing left related to our committee that I would have to talk about is that we're now really going to be focusing almost entirely on our small group topic areas. So in kind of next semester and maybe even at the end of this semester, we'll see. You'll be hearing from governmental relations committee members on their different topic areas. Everyone's going to present to Senate on what they're working on and plans that they have. There's a few forums in the works and different things. So if any of those things that happen and are announced in the next couple weeks and when we return back from the semester break interest you, then definitely reach out. We are happy to have as many people as possible working on those projects and working on those areas, and we'll make sure to keep you informed. So yeah, I guess just more from me ahead.
Awesome. Are there any questions for Chair Colburn about governmental relations? Seeing none, are there any other committee chairs who would like to give a report? Seeing none, we'll now move into directors' reports. Are there any directors who would like to give a report tonight? Director Sarah Haggard.
Hello, everyone. Just to make sure like everyone knows who I am. So I am the Student Governing Association's Sexual Assault Prevention and Awareness Director. And recently I've been working a lot with Title IX and the CARE office, just discussing the new Title IX updates, because Title IX was updated at the federal level in May of 2020. And so I thought I'd just present to you all kind of like what the new federal regulations look like and how we implemented those at the K-State level, and talking about how we could improve, just talking about like how K-State could improve from here in their implementation process. And I did want to mention really quickly that we are very fortunate to have two members of the CARE office here with us today. The CARE office stands for the Center for Advocacy, Response, and Education. Their names are Clara Kintz and Jessica Hanault. And so they will be able to answer any questions that you guys might have that I am not able to answer, or they can add to any answers that I give you. So really quick, just going over like what the heck is Title IX. Title IX is a statute that protects individuals from discrimination based on sex in educational institutions that are funded by the federal government. So that's a pretty important thing to have. And basically what the Title IX process is used for is it's used, so if a person files a complaint that they believe that they have been discriminated against based on sex, they file a report that goes to the Office of Institutional Equity. And if they decide that that falls within the jurisdiction of Title IX, which I'm going to go over in a little bit, they can go forward with the process that's used to determine if a violation has occurred and determine what sanctions should be moved forward with off of what that violation was and those kind of circumstances. So basically, I wanted to start off just saying how Title IX is relevant at K-State. So according to the K-State Climate Survey of 2018, which had 1,586 respondents, and I do have those demographics if you guys were interested in hearing those. You can just ask and then I can let you know. Almost 30% of them reported being a victim of sexual violence or attempted sexual violence. 46% reported being the victim of sexual harassment, and 28.4% reported being a victim of stalking. Just to give you like kind of an insight into how Title IX is important, there's a pretty good amount of people on campus who've been affected by violations under Title IX. And all of these people could decide to move forward with a report, which is why Title IX is so important. According to K-State's Office of Institutional Equity annual report of 2019 to 2020, there was an average of 337 Title IX reports per academic year from 2015 to 2020. And violations were identified in 21.3 of all those reports. Below that, I included some national college statistics. For example, only 20% of female students reported violations when they faced a violation, which means that 4 out of 5 sexual assaults against female students are unreported on college campuses on the national average. Additionally, false reports only account for 2 to 10%. There's some debate on what that range is, but that's the definitive range of what false reports account for out of all reports. And this is actually the same amount of false reports as any other crime. And basically, just by including those national statistics, I wanted to point out that there is some disparity between the national statistics and K-State statistics, which shows that it's definitely worth looking into our Title IX process to make sure that it is functioning properly. So basically, the new federal policy, so this is all like at the federal level. Institutions had to be in compliance with this by August 14th of 2020. That was a pretty quick turnaround because the new updates came out in May 6th. So our university basically had like a month to implement like this 2,000-page policy, which is pretty crazy. It does include a narrower and more vague definition of sexual harassment. And I have that definition here. So the current definition now under this new policy is unwelcome conduct determined by a reasonable person to be so severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive that it effectively denies a person equal access to the university's educational program or activity. So that has a lot of subjective language in it, and that's been the source of some debate around this new federal policy. Additionally, this Title IX policy does not apply to students abroad outside the US. So if a violation was to occur to a student while they were abroad, they could report it, but since it's outside of Title IX's jurisdiction, a process would not be able to be moved forward with that. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. In K-State specifically updated Title IX policy based off the federal regulations, or I'll also get into that later. So here at K-State, Title IX violations that happen within Greek organizations are not able to go through the Title IX process because here at K-State, it's considered out of Title IX's jurisdiction because the definition of it being within the jurisdiction is the institution has to exercise substantial control over both parties. And K-State says that it does not exercise substantial control over both parties because the Greek life organizations are off campus and privately owned. Yes. So the new federal process, this is rather controversial because instead of before when it was mostly like behind closed doors, now the new Title IX process includes live recorded hearings. Basically, well, to get into a little bit, this process can proceed differently at different universities. That's up to the university's discretion. So the complainant, who is the one who files the report, and the respondent, who is the subject of the report, they do not need to directly interact if the university chooses to not have them interact. Instead, each party, no matter what, is represented by their chosen advisor. Basically, according to the federal regulations, anyone that either party knows can be chosen as their advisor. And also at the federal level, advisors are not required to receive training. So that's up to the university whether or not to require advisors receive training or not. This whole process is overseen by a trained and impartial decision maker at K-State. That position is called the hearing officer, who kind of controls the quorum. They make the final decision and they also decide what questions are appropriate and which ones are not. Yes, so the potential issues with the federal regulations. In this live recorded hearing process, survivors are forced to interact with their attackers in live time because it's a recorded hearing. So for example, if the complainant is a survivor of sexual harassment, no matter what, they know that they are interacting with their perpetrator in real time and all of it's recorded. Fortunately, according to the process, some examples I've seen is that they'll have the two opposing parties be in separate rooms and just record each room, and they only interact through their advisors. So although that is definitely an issue, there are ways to get around it without violating the federal regulations. Another factor is that advisors are required for this process, but one party may be able to afford an attorney for this position while another may not. And also I talked with the K-State Title IX coordinator, and he said that K-State has opted not to notify the opposing party if the other party decides to get an attorney for their advisor, which could be concerning. Reporting an incident that happened abroad will not lead to an investigation because it's outside of Title IX jurisdiction, like I mentioned before. The federal policy does state that universities can develop their own policy to give students recourse if something happens to them abroad. Unfortunately, K-State does not have a policy for this. So currently, if a student were to be abroad and face a violation of Title IX, they could report it, but the report could not be followed through because it happened outside of the jurisdiction. Basically, and also the new definition of sexual harassment is more vague, which means it's harder to meet and harder to quantify. So basically what that means is survivors may have to experience escalating levels of abuse before the university decides that it can act within the Title IX jurisdiction to take action, which is pretty concerning. Next slide, if that's okay. So discretionary aspects decided by the university, that's basically like what the university does have control over outside of the federal regulations. So basically, if someone like doesn't know who they want their advisor to be, the university can provide an advisor for them. So universities can decide who that advisor should be. They can also decide how to modulate the hearing process with that example I mentioned from before, with opposing parties in separate recorded rooms. There's lots of ways that universities can decide to hold that hearing process. The training level required for each position is also up to the university. So they can decide whether or not advisors receive training at all as well. They also decide who can be a decision maker, whether that's like faculty or staff or administration. Another interesting fact is they can decide whether or not a decision maker is a single person or a panel of people, which could be pretty decisive in this Title IX process. They also decide K-State's definition of consent. You can find that in the K-State's Title IX policy, which is under PPM 3010. If you don't want to look that up, I'm pretty sure I have that down somewhere. Universities also decide the level of proof or like the standard of evidence.
It looks like time for the speaker has expired. There's been a motion to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. Is there a second on that? Seconded by Chair Colburn. Any objections to our extension of time? Seeing none, Sarah, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and universities also decide the level of proof required to begin this process. So there are some issues with K-State's implementation of these federal regulations. So first and foremost is the fact that the Center for Advocacy, Response, and Education was not involved in the planning or implementation process. I do want to clear up really fast that CARE is a fantastic resource to the university. They are a survivor advocacy group, and K-State's actually leaning on them pretty heavily throughout this entire process from like all the repercussions of this new process. So when I asked, when the Title IX coordinator was contacted about like why wasn't CARE involved in this process, he cited the short timeline. They did only have like a month to implement this whole process, and also the need for non-biased participation, which he believed CARE could not provide because they are an advocacy group. And he said that because they're biased, we would be violating federal regulations to have them involved in this process. Fun fact, that is not true. The Title IX federal regulations actually state advocacy groups as one of the organizations that can be involved in this process. They were listing out organizations recommended to help implement regulations such as these, and advocacy groups were one of those. So it was pretty upsetting to hear that this wonderful resource we have on campus was not involved in the implementation process. That could really negatively affect a lot of the survivors who have to go through this process further down the line. However, when they were asked about, so the university has admitted that it believes that this new process will re-traumatize survivors because it does force like some kind of interaction between like if the complainant is a survivor and their perpetrator. So when asked about what they would do to help out survivors who are re-traumatized by this process, the university cited CARE as their primary support system, which is pretty ironic considering they did not involve CARE in the implementation of this process, but are encouraging them to deal with the blowback of their decisions. President Myers, there was a Title IX forum. It was very interesting. That the university held to educate people on like how K-State was implementing this new federal process. And in it, President Myers stated he believes that students will avoid reporting instances because of this live hearing process. However, When I spoke with the Title IX coordinator about the medium that was going to be used for this new process, he stated Zoom. So in the hearing process, instead of having either party like in a different room where they don't have to face each other with just an advisor doing that interaction, the university has opted to have everything occur through Zoom where cameras are required to be on, which is pretty concerning because that way survivors would have to face their attackers if they were to go through this process. And the fact that the university does have the discretion to not allow this, like the university had the choice to make this as little re-traumatization as possible. And instead they opted for an option that will most likely re-traumatize the survivor. And when I asked the Title IX director, well, what if, the complainant is a survivor and they don't want to have to face their perpetrator? That could be very damaging to their mental and emotional health. He told me they can put a Post-it note over the screen so that they do not have to see the face of their perpetrator. That's pretty outrageous considering the fact that the university had the choice to not do this and they did it anyway. So the Title IX Administration Forum that I just mentioned that President Myers was in, there was a lot of other administration in it as well. It was recorded, but unlike every other recorded university forum, it was removed after 2 weeks. It also took a lot of pushing to get the university to record the forum at all. Now, with a lot of these factors, it does appear that the university is kind of limiting education on the Title IX process here at K-State. Which is why the next slide talks about a resolution that I am currently writing that will hopefully be presented at next Student Senate regarding K-State's implementation of the federal Title IX regulations and what we can do to improve this process for both parties that involved. I'm going to put my email in the chat after this presentation if any of you are interested in co-authoring that, and I'm going to go a little more into that on this next slide. Can you go back up to the previous slide? I don't think I finished reading all of it. Thank you. Yeah, so basically the last little bit. Time ran out.
It looks like time has run out again. I would seek another motion to extend time at this point in time. Chair Colburn moved to extend for another 5 minutes. That was seconded by Senator Croslow. Are there any objections? Seeing none, you have 5 more minutes, Sarah.
Thank you very much. The final point I wanted to just point out with K-State's implementation was that the CARE office, despite not being involved in this implementation process, was asked to provide all of the required training. So training for advisors, training for decision makers. They were asked to provide. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Maggie. So CARE was asked to provide all of the required training despite, not being involved in the implementation process because they were a biased organization, which is kind of not exactly accurate to the federal regulations. But when asked to provide all the training, they were also given very strict time limits and restrictions. For example, the advisor training, advisor is a very, very important position in this new hearing process. They were given 1 hour maximum to train the advisor. And they also gave restrictions on what they could teach, despite them trying to have the trainings be as trauma-informed as possible. Yeah. The next slide. Thank you very much. So the resolution that I have already written, I have a complete draft. Just email me if you want to read the draft, if you give me any feedback. If you're interested in being an author, I'd be very, very excited to have as many authors on this piece of legislation as possible. Basically, the goals of the resolution that I've been writing is first asking the university to make it mandatory to consult the CARE office and potentially the Office of Student Life if the Title IX process were to be updated again, because the CARE office provides a lot of creativity and expertise in this field, and having them included in this process would be very beneficial to every party involved. And the goal of that statement is just to hold the administration accountable for the implementation of all these federal regulations. Also, the point I just made about CARE having a lot of restrictions on the training that they were going to provide. Since this is a very important process, it's very prevalent on campus, as I stated in the first slide, a lot of people may decide to go through with this. Asking the university to allow CARE to develop the trauma-informed training that they were requested to create as they see fit, and to also edit their definition in the Title IX policy. Basically, there's more about it in the resolution, but in the Title IX policy, it has some language that may turn students away from using CARE as a resource, which is very unfortunate because CARE is an excellent resource that I recommend to everyone. Also request that Zoom not be used for the hearing process. We do have the ability to make this as equitable as possible and have as little re-traumatization as possible for each party. And Zoom is not the way to do that. So encouraging the university to come up with a different medium. For example, the example that was used before, where each party is in a different room and they interact through their advisors, you could still have that recorded and it would still be live. So it would still very much meet the federal regulations. Also ask that the decision maker or hearing officer, as it's called here at K-State, be a panel of people instead of just one individual, because the decision maker is the one who makes the final decision. It's a very important position in this process, and asking that instead of one person holding all that power, it be a panel of people, more like a jury of your peers, to make this process more equitable for both parties, hopefully consisting of an undergraduate, graduate, and faculty staff member. When I presented this idea to the Title IX coordinator, he said with enough support from the Student Senate, he would be willing to take back his decision of having the decision maker be an individual and instead institute a panel of people. So I would really appreciate all of your support in that initiative especially. Also request that the Office of Institutional Equity create a policy that offers recourse to students, faculty, and staff, everyone who's affiliated with K-State, who face Title IX violations abroad. It's pretty concerning to think that if someone was to have an incident happen while they were abroad, if they were to report it, nothing could be done. And we have the power to change that. So just asking the university to implement or create some kind of policy to allow an investigation and the process to occur if something was to happen abroad. Also ask that the Title IX coordinator's decisions be seconded regarding reports. As of right now, the Title IX coordinator, his name is Scott Jones. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. He is the only one who reads these reports, and he alone decides whether or not to go forward with the process based on whether or not it's in the university's best interest. There would be there's a lot of hurdles to jump with this one, but just asking that his decisions be reviewed by a second party, I think would be very beneficial to those who make reports. As I stated before, violations were found in like 20% of all the reports that were filed, and that was not at all in accordance with the national statistics. I do also want to point out, before I get to this, one of these last statements, the point of this resolution is mainly to educate all of you and make you aware of where we could improve upon in K-State's implementation of these regulations. There is very little chance that all of these little statements will actually make tangible change because the administration is not as responsive as I believe they should be when it comes to this topic. But having all of you educated and involved in this process is a very exciting concept, and I know that we can make some real change with this resolution with support from you all. And one of those final points is calling for the university to be in complete compliance with the federal regulations. That brings me to Greek life. So in the federal regulations, this update actually states that no matter how much control the university exercises over Greek life, regardless of whether or not it's on or off campus, Greek life, basically if a student organization is recognized by the university, no matter how much control they exercise over that organization and no matter if it's on or off campus, it's required by the federal regulations to go through with the on-campus Title IX policy, which means that the Title IX policy at K-State would apply to Greek life, which means that Greek life would no longer have to resort to doing their own Title IX investigations. So it's pretty exciting, but there's also the fact that K-State has elected to not include Greek life like on campus or anything like that, so they will definitely argue that point. But to be in complete compliance with the federal regulations, it can be argued that Greek life should be investigated as an on-campus entity. And the second thing is just that the university is currently not in compliance with the regulations because there's no process currently set up. There are not people chosen to be the university advisors. There's not people selected to be decision makers. If someone was to file a report right now and it was found to be under the jurisdiction of Title IX, the process could not proceed because there are not people in place and there's not the resources in place to actually begin the process. So we would encourage that the university take steps to have this process ready if a report is filed that is under Title IX jurisdiction. It's interesting, I talked to the Title IX coordinator and he said there have been reports filed as of this year after this, after their Title IX policy was updated, but they still have not chosen people to be in place for this process. So despite the fact that reports have been made, they have not prepared the process in case of an actual investigation. So asking that the university prepare the process. In general, the whole resolution is just trying to call for more transparency within the administration about this policy. And it's really important that we educate as many people as possible as well with this new policy, because this affects a lot of people on campus. And it's just best that we all know how the process works and how we can best support those who go through with this process, whether they're a complainant or a respondent. And really quick, I'd just like to ask the members of the CARE office who are involved if they would, if I could defer my speaking rights to them, if they have anything that they want to say.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for your presentation. I think you've done a really good job of sharing the information in a quick and brief way. I know this is a very heavy topic. It has just so much information. I think you've done a really good job of kind of summarizing it here. We are definitely available to answer any questions. If anyone has any, I fully support what you've said, and we'll be here to speak further on this issue. Thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you, Clara.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your allyship with us throughout this entire semester, for all the meetings, for showing up, really using your voice as a student to make change on this campus. It does not go unnoticed, and K-State is very lucky to have you and everyone else in this room, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
Thank you both very much.
Awesome. Well, with that, are there any questions that anyone has for Director Haggard at this time about her presentation, her potential resolution? It looks like Chair Brown has one.
Hello, thank you so much for coming and presenting. I was wondering if you had any information on how other Big 12 schools were handling this new change, and if there was anything that we could do to maybe like show K-State's administration that other schools are doing beneficial changes that we should follow through, or if most schools are adopting similar changes to K-State.
Yeah, so in the Greek life aspect, that's really hard to compare because we are one of very, very few universities that has Greek life and the university unaffiliated. I have been in contact with KU. They've not gotten back to me yet. And I've also been put into contact with several other universities through End Rape on Campus. They're an initiative that I've been in contact with, but I would be very happy to reach out to those universities and get back to you, Senator Brown.
Thank you.
No problem.
Are there any additional questions?
I do just want to state very quickly, if any of you are interested in looking at the resolution draft or being an author, like I said before, just email me. If you have any questions, I have like eat, sleep, and breathe Title IX for like the past month. So I can answer basically any question you have. And I'm also in contact with CARE, and I can direct them or you to them if you have any other questions. I'd be very happy to educate anyone on Title IX.
Awesome. Well, seeing no more questions, thank you again, Sarah, for your presentation. I personally found it very informative and helpful. So thank you again for all the work and initiatives that you're doing. We really appreciate it. With that, is there any additional directors who have a report that they would like to give tonight? Speaker Pro Tempore Billman, you have the floor.
All right, hey everyone. Just really quickly wanted to give an update on DPC. DPC is the Diversity Programming Committee. So we get to allocate lots of funding to different organizations who want to bring events to campus that promote diversity and I guess, yeah, all of that sort of stuff. So we met yesterday, had our Q3 meeting of the year. We reviewed BSU and Saga, and they both had really great events that are coming up in February. So I encourage you to look out for those. And we decided to allocate for both of them and gave out about $25,000. So that's really exciting. Really thankful to be a part of that process. Whenever Q4 applications, well, I guess they're open now if you want to get on Org Central, but be looking out for K-State Today's about those. If you know of anyone who could use some diversity programming money, we have about $60,000 left in our budget for the year. So, well, including if I make a request for $50,000 out of reserves, which I can happily do. So if you know of anyone, send them my way. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Billman? Seeing none, are there any other directors who would like to give a report? Director Dowd, you have the floor.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. It has been definitely a hot second since I've checked in as Basic Needs Director, but we had our Cats Cupboard Advisory Board meeting yesterday and just wanted to share some information from all of the good work and good people who are working hard at Cats Cupboard. I guess first and foremost, our usage for October was at about 1,600 use, just basic like 1,600 uses across the entire month. And that is pretty much down previously, like if we compare that to last October. And we think a pretty big reason for that is that, students aren't going on campus very much. And so it's just not as accessible. So just want to reiterate the fact, like for everyone in this body, everyone on campus, Cats Cupboard is a great resource that is free to use for students. And it's an incredible place to make sure that students are not going home hungry. On top of that, I would also like to share that Cats Cupboard was awarded a $24,000 grant through the state of Kansas through Spark, and that money will be used to continue with operating costs and also make some renovations at the cupboard. And yeah, we're still working on a lot of different partnerships on campus, definitely highlighting different partnerships with the College of Ag. We recently had some partnerships that Sarah worked really hard on to establish basically flour and pancake mixes provided by Bakery Science and Grain Science. And those are all brought in by like hundreds of pounds of those goods. So that helps out tremendously. And want to leave this body tonight with some hopeful news. We got some numbers back from, a different data collection survey that generally speaking has always provided and shared the statistic that Riley County sits at about 17% food insecurity rate across the entire county. That's including the community. And we got some hopeful data that came back for 2018 numbers most recently, and those showed that our food insecurity rate in Riley County has gone down to 12%. So the creation of Cats Cupboard and also the incredible work that we've been doing has definitely helped to drive that percentage down, and we are hopeful to continue bringing it down. So I stand for questions, and if anyone has any wants to reach out and help out with Cats Cupboard or any initiatives with basic needs, please be sure to let me know.
Are there any questions for Director Dowd? Seeing none, thank you so much, Michael. Are there any other directors who would like to give a report tonight? Seeing none, we'll now continue on with our agenda for this evening. So with that, we will actually be moving into final action for tonight. First up in final action is Bill 17, additional funding to the on-campus committee from reserves. That was referred favorably by the on-campus committee 5-0. So with that, I will let the author come forward for first right to debate.
Hey guys. So kind of what this bill does, I mean, if you've read it, we're just taking $10,000 out of the campus orgs reserve account, just so that we can have some operating funds for this upcoming school year if organizations come and request funding, whether that be for actual on-campus events that are with CDC guidelines, socially distanced, or with an online kind of seminar conference software. So we just needed formal legislation to be able to pull this $10,000 out of the account. I'm happy to answer any questions, but please vote yes.
Are there any questions for Chair Pelton? Looks like Chair Booz has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a little bit about like when the previous, like the money that, you know, the other 20% that was not cut was given out, like was that mostly in spring semester or this fall?
Yeah, so that was mostly last spring semester before COVID hit, obviously. We have allocated money to one campus group so far, and I believe it was like $800. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
The one other thing that I wanted to add on that is that that total allocation for student organizations that when we cut it by 80% about a month ago, that goes to both travel and on campus. So like each of them received a fifth of their budget, but like if you're like looking at those exact numbers, remember that you have to divide it in half for both travel and OCAC because they each receive funding out of the same pool of money.
Right, thanks.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative on Bill 17? Is there any more debate in the positive on Bill 17? Is there any additional debate at all on Bill 17? Seeing none, we will now move into a roll call vote on Bill 17. So I'm just going to turn it over to Maggie right now.
All right, hey everyone. We'll get started with Atchison.
Yes.
Bain?
Yes.
Booz?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Bruce? Brummett?
Abstain.
Bruna? Burke? Carlson? Carr? Clements?
Yes.
Colburn?
Yes.
Crosslow?
Yes.
De Santiago? Diaz de Leon?
Yes.
Delavu?
Yes.
Doc?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes, by proxy.
Frederick?
Yes.
Gallardo? Garrett?
He's gonna be yes.
Glasscock?
Yes.
Grills?
Yes.
Gomez?
Yes.
Hamlin?
Yes.
Harmon?
Yes.
Hurd?
Yes.
Heimerman?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Hutchings?
Yes.
Jane Bunathan?
Yes.
Kidd?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes, by proxy.
Moya,
Yes.
Manners,
Yes.
McKee,
Yes.
McVeigh, Muthukumar,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Norwood, oh, excuse me, Nunink,
Yes.
Panikatu,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Porter, Purdy,
Yes.
Richenberg,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rossi,
Yes.
Shunjay, Snyder Ben,
Yes.
Snyder Blaine,
Yes.
Fonts,
Yes.
Vogelmore,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes, by proxy.
Wilcox. Thank you. Willis
Yes.
and Windholtz.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I just have to go back and fix one really quickly. All right. With that, Bill 17 passes 48 to 0 to 1. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, I said Bill 48. I mean Bill 17.
Awesome. So with that, we will now continue on with our agenda for tonight. Next up in final action, we have Resolution 34. If the author wants to come forward, you have first right to debate.
Hello, everyone. I just first want to let everyone know that there was a couple changes made from questions last time and some comments. First, two whereas clauses were just corrected. And second, on line 20, I added the line, Kansas State University has not activated personal pronoun settings on Canvas, just to ensure that people understood it did not exist at K-State currently. So yeah, let me begin. January 15th, Canvas released the personal pronouns feature that has existed on various Canvas websites, except for K-State's, that allows people to put their personal pronouns in their names. However, the K-State administration has not activated the personal pronouns feature, meaning students at K-State cannot add these personal pronouns next to their name. I believe this resolution is a creative and also demonstrable opportunity for K-State to create a more welcoming space for people of all genders. And as a Senate, I believe we should pass it for three main reasons. First, students want this feature. The Canvas report on this feature explained that prior to the creation of the personal pronouns feature, students had been asking for this for approximately years, and they had just finally got around to creating it in January of this year. And once it was created, there was countless universities across the nation that adopted it, and students were happy because of that. But as I stated before, K-State does not have this, and there have been many complaints on campus of students wanting it to exist, but K-State not activating it. My second point is misgendering can be avoided by activating this feature on Canvas. As it states in the bill, misgendering is defined as intentionally or unintentionally referring to, relating to, or using language to describe a person that does not align with their affirmed gender. And it does have certifiable adverse mental health effects, especially for people who are transgender. But I believe this bill can help prevent misgendering by displaying pronouns in these different social places, both virtually and in person. For example, people love putting their pronouns in Zoom calls, since we've been on Zoom calls so often. Oftentimes they're in the bios of emails, and even name tags have started having them on them. So why exactly should Canvas be any different? This is simply another opportunity for us to show students at K-State we care about their identities and their genders. And finally, I would argue most importantly, the personal pronouns feature can help normalize the sharing of pronouns. This feature may not solve misgendering, obviously. I don't think anything is going to solve that problem, but it creates an environment where those who wish to share their pronouns feel safe doing so. The Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, one of the biggest networks for this kind of topic, explains that providing everyone the opportunity to self-identify prevents misgendering and is the first step towards creating respecting people's identities. So individuals, everybody on campus, whether they're cisgender, whether they're transgender, or even non-binary, can list their pronouns on Canvas. And it's a major step towards ensuring students at K-State feel safe expressing themselves in this platform. They can do it in other platforms, but by using something that literally every student, educator, and administrator uses on a daily basis to show that they care about this, that is just another step towards solving this issue. So, as I said before, I believe this is something we should pass. Obviously, KSU is committed to diversity and inclusion, as they state almost every day, and has been rated as one of the best campuses for LGBTQ students. We as a Senate should pass this resolution to advance not only those commitments to diversity and inclusion, but also ensure our LGBTQ students feel safe and welcome here on campus. I urge you to vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Awesome. Are there any questions for Intern Solomon about his debate? Chair Booth.
Yeah, sorry, this isn't quite about your debate, but I'm seeing a duplicate whereas clause on line 10 and 13. I'm wondering if we could remove one of them.
Yeah, that's completely fine. I don't know why that's in there.
Yeah, I don't think it was on last week's version.
No.
So I don't know.
But yeah.
I can correct that. No issue before it gets sent out to administrators. Are there any other questions or corrections? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative on this resolution? Is there any additional debate in the positive on this resolution? Senator Brummett, yep, you have the floor.
Hey, how's it going? So I'm in the gender studies department here at K-State. And we've actually wanted this for the past couple of years. It just helps out because a lot of people already say their pronouns, and it sort of just takes away that step because it's already listed. I would vote, I'm going to vote yes, and I'd hope you would too, because it just helps everybody out. And it's just very beneficial for everyone. That's it. That's all I got.
Awesome. Are there any questions for our previous speaker? Seeing none, is there any additional debate in the negative on this resolution? Any additional debate in the positive on this resolution? Is there any additional debate at all on this resolution? Seeing none, we will now proceed into a vote on Resolution 34. Resolutions do not require a roll call vote like we just had on Bill 17. So because of that, you can vote right now if you're a student senator just through the yes/no voting features. We would just do like a hand vote if we were in Wildcat Chamber. So feel free to click on the participants window, open up that participants tab, and then just click either the green checkmark yes button or the red X no button. It'll take a second because me and Michael will just verify that everyone who voted is a student senator. If you're abstaining, just don't check anything at all. And so we can actually get to, I'll do like a second call for abstentions in a sec. So if you're just voting yes or no right now, please go in and open up that window. Also, if you have a proxy, feel free to direct message me your proxy's vote. So give us just a little bit to verify everything, and then we will let you know the vote total. Okay, awesome. So with that, I have 39 votes in the positive, and no votes in the negative. I'm going to clear all, and then if you're abstaining, click the yes button right now, just to let us know that you're choosing to abstain. There's just yes, no, no abstain option, so I have to do it a second time. So if you're abstaining right now and would like that counted in the vote total, please just indicate so by going in and clicking the green checkmark yes button right now to an abstention. Okay, awesome. So with that, based off everything that I've gotten, I have a vote of 40 to 0 to 3 that this passes. So with that, resolution 34 will pass 40 to 0 to 3. So thank you all for voting. Those are always, I feel like they go way faster than the roll call vote. So thank you. With that, we will now move on to introduction of legislation for tonight. So with that, we will start with Bill 18. If I can get a motion to consider Bill 18. Moved by Caucus Leader Clements, seconded by Senator Croslow. With that, will the author of Bill 18 please come forward?
Yeah, hello again, everybody. This is Bill 2021-18, Amendments to the KSU SGA Elections Regulations regarding campaigning through official SGA channels by the Senate Operations Committee. Whereas the elections regulations of Kansas State University Student Governing Association should encourage and require KSU SGA members to avoid conflicts of interest. Whereas various sections of the KSU SGA elections regulations prevent campaigning in certain ways and at certain times. Whereas section 01161 or I of the KSU SGA statutes currently bans activities related to the procedure of the elections in KSU SGA office spaces. Whereas this section does not affect campaign activities during official KSU SGA events that do not take place in the KSU SGA office spaces or are over official KSU SGA social media. Whereas KSU SGA should avoid the conflict of interest inherent in giving the candidates appearance of an official endorsement, but KSU SGA members should be able to endorse campaigns unofficially at other places and times. And whereas amendments are necessary in order to clarify the rules around these activities. Be it enacted that Section 1, Section 01116I of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association statutes shall be amended to read as follows. Student Governing Association Student Governing Association only activities related to the procedure of the election shall be permitted at official Student Governing Association events over official Student Governing Association social media or group messaging platforms, or in the office space of Student Governing Association or the Center for Student Involvement. Activities include, but are not limited to, educational or training sessions, hearings, and mandatory meetings, and exclude campaign actions. Section 2. This legislation shall take effect upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president. I stand for questions.
Yeah, with that, we'll do questions. I actually have a question right now. Bryce, I don't know if you have the answer, or Andrew, if you have the answer to it. But so just to like kind of clarify, when you say like official SGA social media and group messaging, I know that was a whole discussion last year on like what constitutes those things. I'm just trying to like think out a hypothetical right now. But so would, for example, like the thing I'm most familiar with is, you know, being intern coordinator. So if I and like the intern group chat that I ran was like, hey, vote for me for student body president. Like would, in your mind, like, or at least as far as your guys' discussions were, like, would that count as a violation of this, or was it just specifically referring to like the Student Governing Association, like itself, social media?
Yeah, Bryce, if you don't mind, I can answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the intent of this was to basically, if you were the intern coordinator, at that point and had said that in the chat that you had created for official communications from you, as well as communications from the interns to you and that sort of thing. Yeah, the intent would be to ban those communications.
Perfect. That's what I was hoping and wanted. I just wanted to clarify that that's what you guys were going for here. So thank you. With that, it looks like Caucus Leader Phillips has a question.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for presenting. So just curious, it's in section 1, just at the very bottom of that phrase. I guess what exactly is it referring to, like excluding campaign actions? Like what is excluded from campaign actions, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, there's a definition in the definitions section, which is 01, I think 02, not 01. And so that defines what campaign actions is, and really it's anything done to promote a campaign for any office or on any question that might be on the ballot. So if there was also a referendum, that would be a campaign as well.
Follow-up granted.
Yeah, so I guess is that just saying that campaign actions are banned from official SGA events then?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, the intent is to try to make sure that nobody will interpret activities related to the procedure of the election, which shouldn't be interpreted this way anyway, but nobody should interpret that as also allowing campaigns to actually promote themselves in these events.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you all so much. With that, we'll now move on to Bill 19. Is there a motion to consider Bill 19? I can get a so moved. Moved by Caucus Leader Phillips. Is there a second? Seconded by Caucus Leader Atchison. With that, will the author of Bill 19 please come forward?
Yeah, hi. So this bill is by Senate Operations Committee, whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU SGA, seeks to clarify vague language in the KSU SGA elections regulations, whereas the current language was written leaves rooms for interpretation as to who's eligible to support or endorse a candidate. Whereas the Senate Operations Committee reviewed and discussed the current clause as stated, and whereas the Student Operations Committee proposed changing the language in section 01-0116E of the SGA statutes to the following, being enacted that section 1 of 01-0116E of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association statute shall be amended to read as the following. College and university endorsements. Campaigns may not solicit the support or advocacy or endorsement of Kansas State University or any of its colleges, faculty, or staff, nor will any party listed support, advocate for, or endorse a campaign with or without the campaign's knowledge. Section 1 is any member of KSU SGA employed by the university may advocate for SGA candidates as long as they do not use their university position to advocate any particular candidate, nor imply any university preference based on their position. Second is for the advents of doubt, encouraging members of KSU SGA to vote without mentoring any particular campaign is not restricted under this section. Section 2 says this legislation shall take effect under passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President. I now stand for questions.
Are there any questions for the author? Looks like Chair Colburn has a question.
Yeah, sorry, that took a sec. Why was section, well, what was like one, if a campaign receives a specific endorsement, yada, 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 why wasn't that included in this revision?
I'm sorry, what part?
So what was section one? Yeah. So if a campaign receives an